Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Miniature Mythos. Yes, it's an afternoon. It's something completely different. It's not a Thursday, it's a Saturday, in fact. For you who wouldn't know that. I am your host, Christoph. Indeed, I am your host, Christoph. Welcome back. Hope you're all doing well. And yeah, I'm glad to have you here. Now, today is a bit different. I know I've been saying that a lot lately, like with the Skull and Bones beta. Like, it's gonna be different, and it's gonna be different now, and I've said that in the past before. But I actually got some pretty exciting news. As you may know, Twitch works with like an affiliate program and a partner program, and I got like a message saying, hey, you've got like 3 out of 4 of your requirements to become an affiliate. And one of the last ones was to stream on multiple different days. So I'm like, well, no time like the present. Why don't I go online and just talk about painting in general? Just make a tutorial or have like a tutorial for you guys if you have plans to start painting miniatures yourself. Because it's a fine hobby. It's nice. It's really relaxing. You can... If you followed my streams before, you know that you can get some pretty nice results, and there's always something to do when you're creating miniatures, so why not share some knowledge and actually tell you what I'm doing, because I tend to forget in the moment what I'm doing while painting on stream. And I've heard from different people that that it's something that they actually want to know, that they want to learn how to paint miniatures, but they just see me like smear paint all over these things, and they don't really know if is that really all there is to it? Is there more? Is there like a technique? Yes and no. So I'm going to actually talk to you about what you're gonna need to paint miniatures and how you go about doing that in the end. So you come online and put up one of your YouTubes to show that on stream. No. No, I don't. I'm not gonna. What I am going to do is probably make a YouTube video about that. I'm not gonna, show you guys someone else's YouTube video. But yeah, if you want, I have a YouTube channel. This is, by the way, why the dead cat is still on my microphone, because before I got the notification, I was actually recording more Lovecraft readings to put on the YouTube. So I use this because I really intensely speak into the microphone when recording, and that prevents my breath from being caught in the microphone. But yeah, if you want to hear those readings where I really intensely narrate Lovecraft stories, you can head down to the link that Chasey has put in the chat, and just watch my YouTube videos over there. Now, for those who are not completely enamored by my face and who have looked around the room around me, they will have noticed that there's a couple things there already that might give away what you need for painting miniatures. A dedicated workspace is a good start, so that is something you can definitely start with. Having room to maneuver is very crucial. The second thing that you need is light. And I'm going to put it like this. Every source of light is good as long as there's enough light, but the best light to work with is actual daylight. So if you can paint during daylight hours, that's the best thing you can go for. Otherwise, you need a strong enough lamp with the right amount of lumen and Kelvin heat, stuff like that, to be agreeable on your eyes for long periods of time. As you can see, I have like a ring light now. I used to just have a LED strip here, it's still there, but I used to just simply use a bright LED strip on my ceiling, and that didn't quite provide enough lighting to actually see all the details while I'm staring at it. Because the thing you have to realize is these things are tiny. They are really tiny miniatures, and looking at it for prolonged periods of times, gets tiring on the eyes. Some content creators, some miniature painters have like these lenses where they look through the entire time just to magnify the details so they don't have to strain their eyes that much. Some have like special glasses that they put over their normal glasses, or if they don't wear glasses, just put on, to actually magnify everything. Because yeah, it is straining on the eyes, and having the right amount of light in your environment where you work, it is crucial to get for yourself to not be tiring. Like, don't do it with a normal kitchen table light. Just don't do that, because you're gonna wear yourself out. Colors will not look the same. You will have the feeling that things look different than they actually look. It's a horrible way to start. So first thing about painting miniatures is location. Location, make sure you have room to maneuver, and light. You don't have to go, it's not because you want to paint a miniature or you want to paint something that you immediately have to go and buy ring lights or like these light arcs. Don't do that. Like, there's plenty of other things you can do. But just keep in mind that for your own comfort, that's really important. Now, I'm gonna go to the other chatting screen to show you what else you'll definitely need. Now, what do you need? A miniature. Just look around online, in your cupboard if you have them. If you have miniatures, if you have little statues, it doesn't have to be a miniature, it could be bigger. If you have old toys, like old, I don't know, Power Ranger miniatures or figures, those can work just as well if you want to try out stuff. Like, most of these miniatures are part of a wargaming series or an army painting or an RPG series. You can buy them relatively cheaply at hobby stores, especially if you go with like the Dungeons and Dragons lines that are out recently. And I believe that most of you would really like a miniature that fits your D&D character or your role-playing character. So for those purposes, just look around online. Go to your local hobby store. They will definitely have everything you need to start painting and find a nice miniature. Now, these miniatures are mostly made out of plastic, resin, or if you're really old, pewter, lead, stuff like that. The material they're made with kind of decides how they will act when you start painting them. I will explain in a bit. So it's all names are picked already. Thank you for following. Thank you for pressing that follow button. I appreciate it. Welcome in. Yes, she was here last time with the Garage stream as well. And we just already decided that she had a really cool name. So there you go. So thanks for following as well. I'm just gonna quickly look around. Yeah. So, what you need, so you have those different materials. These days, most of the miniatures that you will buy are in plastic, hard plastic. They are vacuum formed or injected into molds, basically. So what happens is the creator, the modeler, they will make molds, they will inject plastic into it, and then they will create the miniature that way, like two halves, put plastic in there, press them together, open it, and there you have your miniature. It used to be that they did the same, but with a form of resin. A lot of people swear by resin. I swear at resin. I don't really like the resin phase that, for example, Citadel Games Workshop did, because they tend to have like air bubbles in them. What is the major advantage of resin is that it's pliable. So if you heat it up a bit, you can actually mold it, shape it. It has a nice feel to it as well. So in that regard, it has its benefits, but to me it also has its downsides. One thing is it's also quite porous, so your paint will get absorbed in that resin, which makes painting a lot more difficult because you will need more paint. It's the same if you're painting walls. If you have a very porous wall, you're gonna have to apply multiple layers of paint on that wall. And then you have pewter, lead. And the thing with pewter and lead is that it's metal. And your paints won't always stick on metal. The same also is because they are so hard. The moment that you bump them against something, you drop them, it will immediately scuff the paint on them. So while they are extremely durable and they have this nice weighty feel to them, they do have their drawbacks based on what the material can do. For example, pewter and lead figures are heavy, so they used to make like these very dense, squat miniatures. You will definitely see that if you go to Old Hammer. If you look up old Warhammer figurines, they're referred to as Old Hammer, that they all are these squat built figurines that look like, why does everyone look like they have like pooped their pants and stuff? That is basically because, yeah, they had to do that because of the structural integrity of the miniature. Swords are big and clunky, their arms are like all retracted against their chest. So later with resin and plastic they could have more like dynamic poses. So it's an evolution of sorts, but there is a certain charm to the Old Hammer figurines. There's also a certain charm to the resin figurines, who mostly use the same design as Old Hammer, but sometimes veered off to that. But now we are in the era of hard plastic and 3D printing, but that's something else. And the hard plastic ones, they can have various poses, they can have very tiny bits, they can have little details. Like, it's really detailed what's all on these models. If you just take a look at the one I'm holding up now, like, you can have very, very tiny height differences, like fractions of millimeters thick, and it will show. Quick lurk, return in a few minutes. Very well, Dark Chasey. See you in a bit. So, right now, that's still one of the best options. With the advent of 3D printers, we got another option. We could 3D print our own miniatures. If you have been watching the channel so far, you'll know that most of the figurines that I'm painting are actually 3D printed ones. So I follow a couple of modelers online that just design amazing models. I buy the STLs, I have a resin printer. That's a different kind of resin than the one I was referring to earlier though. I have a resin printer, I just download the files, I put them in the printer. A couple of hours later I have beautiful figurines as well. Details depend on the model, depend on the type of weather. Yes, that's also a variable in 3D printing. Like mostly temperature and humidity, stuff like that. But details can be amazing, or yeah, you can have kind of a misprint where not everything comes out great. Yeah, stuff like that happens. So it's always like, is it gonna be great? Isn't it gonna be great? Like for example, this Gimli that I painted a while ago looks great. Like, nothing to remark. Detail is there, like his little loincloth. If you go over it, you actually feel like the difference in the mail, the chain mail. So that's perfect. But you'll also notice here that there's like these rough edges. The one that I'm holding up with my nail here, like, yeah, that happens because it's a 3D printed one, and you can sand it down, but yeah, that takes extra work. So knowing that you can 3D print basically anything that's available online, it opens up a whole new range of miniatures, but it will also require more work and an investment on your part, because yeah, they are generally cheaper than what, for example, Games Workshop produces, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're free. And that also doesn't necessarily mean that they're better. So it's a give and take, it's everywhere, just like with the materials and stuff. The thing is, they're also way more fragile when you 3D print them. Like, they are generally harder because the resin becomes like a glass-like substance. The problem is, they break. Where plastic tends to... It can break, it can snap, but it tends to bend a little before it breaks. Your resin will not bend. Once it's completely cured, it will snap clean off. And to glue resin together again, you need patience and a lot of luck, because sometimes that just doesn't work anymore. Those are such clean snaps, doesn't work. Now, once you have your space and you have your miniature that you want to paint, you gotta make sure that you have something to paint it with. Now, as you can see here in the background, I'm just gonna switch over here, I have like Serge, oh my god, let me sub you. Serge, I first need like the actual message that I have become an affiliate before you can sub me, so thank you for joining in. If you want to throw money at me, you can always come by and just throw money at me in person. I wouldn't mind. Just paper money, please. No coins, thanks. So, you notice that I have a couple of wooden racks with different paints on them. These are actually multiple sets of paints. They're all in dropper bottles. What are dropper bottles? Those are these bottles with like the little cap on it. Basically because you can just screw the cap off after you shake them, of course, and drop a bit of paint on your palette to get going. What are the other options is, of course, Games Workshop, who have like little pots like this. You just open it up, you have like a little lid here where you can scoop off paint. You just close it up again, that's it. I started out with Games Workshop paints. They're very good to start out with. They're also, I'm gonna go over the process, they're also labeled with what kind of paints you can use in what phase of your painting process. So that makes it really easy for beginners to actually get into it. The dropper bottles from Army Painter that I'm using now, they don't have that. So you actually have to kind of know what you're doing with these before actually applying it. So these are actually great. You might be able to see it, you might not be able to see it, but it says, no, wait, why am I doing this? So you see that this one says base, which is a clear indication of it's a base paint. You apply it first, and I'm gonna come back to that later. So you have dropper bottles, you have those paints. Yeah, basic, indeed. What you need then, so you just pick a couple colors that you want. The thing is, you will always need more paints. Always. You never have enough paints. The moment that you start painting, you'll realize that, shit, I don't have the exact paint that I want. No trouble. Suddenly you will make a call and just order like a complete range of paints from a certain company. In my case, Army Painter, and then you will have all their paints and your problems will be gone. No, they won't, but you will at least think that they're gone. But to start out, you work with simple colors. A color consists of one color. That's all you need. So if you want to have red, just buy red. For example, this is red, just get red. Then the 75% you thought you needed will die a slow dehydrating death. Yes! if it's Games Workshop. Apparently those dropper bottles are really good at conserving your paint, so... apparently. So, yeah. I too have bought paint that I used for one model and then never used again. But I really wanted to use that on that model. So it's like crack. Yes, that's it. There's no but. It's like crack. Once you start with it, it's really hard to stop. Anyway, a crack has an end, true. Painting just ends with your death. Same as crack, so yeah, whatever. But it takes longer. No. You just pick a couple of paints that you want to use for your model. Think of a color scheme, if you have seen a color scheme. For example, if you want to get into Games Workshop's Warhammer 40k and you want to paint a Space Marine and you want to definitely paint an Ultramarine, then first of all I'm gonna say seek help. And then I'd say, yes, that's pretty easy because they have colors for that. That's Ultramarine Blue. It is a very specific color. It's easy to get that. It's just blue. Well, it's not just blue, it's the specific kind of blue. Just get that. Maybe get a yellow color and a red color as well. Maybe a white one and a black one. So I think with 5 paints, you are actually already good to go to start painting. What else do you need? Well, of course, you're gonna need brushes. I have loads of brushes. I have the ones you see on screen. I have like another entire bottle of brushes. They're all varying in size and quality. The black brushes that you can see here are Citadel brushes. They are my oldest brushes that I have. I started out with a collection of Citadel brushes. A couple of years ago I got these Artis Opus brushes from my friends for a birthday. These are superior in every way. I really love my Artis Opus brushes. I use them all the time when I'm painting, definitely on stream. They are just better. Yeah, brushes also have no end. Their mutilated corpses are used to apply glue and basing materials. Yes, you'll also notice that at a certain time your brushes aren't good enough for painting anymore, but you still need like semi-liquids to apply to, like, for example, basing, and you will use them for masking fluids and paints, completely ruining them further, but that's neither here nor there. It's always best to get at least 3 brushes. A standard brush size, a rather big fluffy brush. I'm gonna start showing how big and how fluffy those are. One of these. That's the biggest and fluffiest that they get. This is a standard brush. So you can definitely already see, like, the fluffy brush is at least twice as big. And then you're gonna need like a finer brush. I know why I'm showing you my bad brushes, but whatever. The right one is the finer one, but because they're also old, so. Why is that? Because at a certain point, you're gonna apply your paint normally, then you're gonna wash them, and then you're going to do highlights. And having different brushes for that makes it a lot easier. So it's basically the idea of, yeah, you're not gonna use like the biggest thing you have in the house for a very tiny task. It's just stupid. You're making it hard on yourself. That's basically it. So 3 brushes, medium, big, small, and then you're basically there. That's everything that you have to pay for. What are you still gonna need is water. Just a little bowl of water. Mine is like a little cocktail bowl. Normally you'd put like a sauce in there or like nuts or something. Dishwasher soap. Yeah. Water with dishwasher soap in it, because then it breaks down. But just a tiny drop more and you'll ruin your brushes. Because then whatever. Your hairs will get loose from your brushes. And a palette. I have a wet palette, which has like this sponge underneath it, which makes sure that even after I've painted, I can just close it up again. And I still have wet paint days, even weeks later. The quality of the paint, I'm not gonna argue about that, but it will still be usable. Like, for example, if I'm painting, I'm always painting the same models 2 weeks in a row. And if I want to redo a certain area with the same color, then I don't have to try and get like an estimate of the same color again. I just use the same color because it's still there, it's still wet, I can still use it. Now, basically anything can work as a palette. Just make sure that it's a non-absorbing surface. Like, for example, a bit of kitchen towel won't work. Cloth, paper towels, they won't work because they will absorb your paint before you can actually use it. But piece of plastic, like a plastic lid from like Tupperware or something, that will do. A plate will do. Just thinking about other things, a piece of wood would actually do. Like, be careful because wood stains easily. Like if it's finished wood, you can use that if it's like a piece of reserve. Just make sure that your paint won't completely dry the moment it's on or be absorbed by the surface. That's basically it. And then you're ready to go. You have your paints, you have your brushes, you have your water, you have your palette, you have your miniature, and you're good to go. Now, how do you actually start with painting a miniature? Now, you'll notice that this miniature will have a lot of different colors on it. One of the first things that you will always do is determine what will be the hardest to reach. Because that's gonna be the one that you're going to paint first. For example, this dude has like the inside of his cloak, which here under his arms, here in the corner, yeah, here under his arms, if you can even see that, and under his hood. Those are gonna be the hardest parts that you'll paint on this model first, because you have to get in there with your brushes. I will demonstrate. So if you go there with your brushes, you're passing this piece as well. Like if you go here, you're passing a lot of other areas. If you go here, you pass this chest plate, you pass the rest of his hood. If you go here, you pass his arm, you see the rest of his robes here. So if you go in with a loaded brush after those areas are already painted, you risk of getting paint on those areas that you've already painted and are basically finished, having to redo them. So if you start painting, no matter what you think will be easier, no matter what color you want to do first, it's always best to keep in mind, work from the inside outward. For example, which thing here will be the easiest to paint was going to be the smoke, it's going to be that scepter, it's going to be the back. Because you have free access to that, those should actually be the last things that you paint on this model. Because they're just so easy to get to, you never risk touching something else while doing it. Now, of course, if you want to do them in a different order, you can certainly do that. That's not a problem. But if you've watched the stream, you might have noticed that I usually start with the skin. Why? The skin is the deepest part of most models. Because on top of that skin, you have a beard, you have the eyes that you have to paint, you have hair, you might have a hood or cloak, you have gloves. the skin is just something that lies the deepest of all, and then you just add the clothes and all the weaponry and all the other stuff on it. What chapter is this model from? Take a fucking guess. Dark Angels. I even think it's what's his name? Yeah, Dark Angels have like a special chaplain. But it's a Dark Angels one. So, after you've deduced where you're gonna start, just start. For example, if you have, like I said, the Space Marine going for you, just apply blue to the entire model, because there's gonna be blue everywhere. Anyway, so just smear it completely. And then you can start picking off the areas that are not gonna be blue. And it's mostly with your second paint that you're gonna start to work way more carefully, because you have to, you know, make sure you don't work on your first paint. And then after that, be more careful, even more careful, even more careful, stuff like that. Now, I'm gonna switch over and we're going to start painting according to the rules to show you how it's really done. I'm gonna immediately go against my own things that I just said by doing the cloak, just to show you how I do it, just to show you the process. So we're just gonna quickly shift over to painting, and then we'll continue from there. So, if you've seen the Dark Angels stream, you know that Dark Angels wear green. A lot of green. And that's why I'm going to paint this one's cloak green as well. Now, I told you before that if you want to start painting, you basically need only one color. That is technically not true. You will need many more colors, but to get starting, one color will do. To get the desired result of having like light fall on it, having shade, you're gonna need at least 4 colors. First of all, you have like a base color, something that, like I said, in Citadel is covered. They actually name their paints after whether it's a base, a shade, a layer, stuff like that. Other paints don't do that, or they do it but in limited amounts. So first of all, you're gonna choose a base color. The color that you would say in normal lighting, when lighting is just there, if you would have to describe the color, that is the color that is shown. So for this we take Angel Green, because Angel Green is the color that these Dark Angels have. Now, this will not be enough to actually show you all the shadows and light effects. No, you're gonna have to make like highlights, places where light hits harder. For example, here, everything that is raised, especially here on his shoulder, that's gonna be lighter than, for example, here in this crevice. So you're gonna need a slightly lighter color. For example, Army Green. If you take a look, you'll notice that is also green, just a bit lighter. And after that, you're gonna need another color that I thought I had here. Where is it? Technical difficulties? Oh, here. Which is way lighter, like for example, combat fatigues. It's still green, but it's so light, and you really will use that for going over edges, because you'll often notice when light strikes something is lit, but there's always like this one edge that is way more lit than the rest of a piece of armor or a piece of cloth. And we're gonna use that for that. Now, like I said, this is gonna be my base color, but if I want to have shades on there, I need something darker than this. Now, you don't have to go for paint that is actually darker than this. You just go and find a shade, which is a very nice invention. And I'm quickly gonna take a look at the shades that I have here, which one I'm gonna use. Don't I have a mid-tone? Yeah, whatever. Oh, here, strong tone. You have washes. A wash, a shade, an ink, whatever you want to call it. These are basically very runny paints that will darken and stain everything that you put it on. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna paint the cloak with the base color. Then we're gonna put a shade on there, which, because it's so runny, will settle in like the deepest crevices, making it so that wherever there would be natural shade, this thing will make it darker. Then we're gonna return with this to clean up wherever there is shade that doesn't need shade. Then we're gonna highlight the things that get more light than the standard fabric. And then we're gonna edge highlight with the lightest color to make sure that those areas that catch the final rim of light are being put like in focus. So we're gonna start doing this. I just hope that all the paints are gonna dry in time to show you that. If you guys have any questions in the meantime, just let me know. I'll definitely answer that. So, because it's a rather large surface, I'm going to use the biggest of my brushes, which is the 2. I have 2, 1, 00, and 000. 000 being the smallest, the 2 being the largest. This is the largest Artis Opus brush that I have, and it's perfect for like covering large areas of paint. What you do, no matter if it's in a dropper bottle or if it's in one of the GW bottles, you always shake your paint. Shake your paint like your life depends on it. The pigment in the paints tend to settle, the paints tend to shift, so by shaking it vigorously, sometimes you can put like a little metal ball in the bottle to make sure that it's stirred well. You mix it again and it gets like the right consistency to start painting. So then you just put a bit of the paint on your palette. I'm just gonna try and get everything like into view. So you wet your brush, you take a bit of paint, you just see what the consistency of your paint is. It doesn't have to be too runny, doesn't have to be too thick. Just make sure that it has like a nice consistency to it. Don't load your model, don't load your brush with too much paint, and then just start applying it. Now, it's better to work in a couple coats than it is to work in one big coat. So here I can clearly see that, yeah, this is going to be too light. I'm going to need another coat after this. But first I'm going to finish this coat. Also, pro tip, always stroke your paint in the same direction. So for example, here I started going from up to down. I can go from down to up if I want something else, but I don't go from left to right or right to left anymore. That is just because the way that your brush will apply the paint, if you go against the grain or perpendicular to it, it will look different. It will not cover as great as before. So just keep going up and down or in the same direction that you were painting before. This is the point in the YouTube video where they just do a jump cut to the next part of the painting process. But since you're watching this live, you'll have to sit through this. Horrible. So yeah, between layers you can just take a bit of a break. You'll notice that it's not quite consistent in its coverage, so we'll definitely need a second layer. You'll notice that if you work with Army Painter, because they don't use like the basic or the base paint, the layer paint, all their paints have the same consistency, and you will mostly need more for a base layer, because all their paints are basically on layer quality if you compare them to Games Workshop. Now a layer paint is a bit translucent, which means that you will still see the paint coming through it from the color that is beneath the layer paint, which makes blending a lot easier. But it will also make that if you use them as a base paint, you will need multiple layers to have them cover the same amount of area. Normally these paints, they are water-based, so if you want them to dry quickly, if you want them to have thicker, just apply less water to them. You will notice that with each application of paint that the color is getting more darker and more thick. Okay. Lie on your belly. Now, while this dries, make sure to rinse out your brush after using a certain color. So quickly rinse it, don't press it down on the bottom of it. You can slightly touch the bottom of your cup, but just rinse it out. Make sure most of the water is gone. If you want, you can have like a little bit of kitchen towel around or kitchen paper to just brush it off. Don't press too hard on your brush, don't squeeze it too hard, or the hairs in your brush will get loose. You don't want that, because then that's the beginning of the end for your brush, and then before you know it, you will be scooping glue with that brush. Now, after this, after we're done with applying a base color, we will be applying a wash. I'm going to do a slight wash just to make sure that it'll dry in time, because washes tend to take longer to dry. But lately, or in the last years, there has been a development in the industry, and they have created contrast paints or speed paints. Speed paints, contrast paints, whatever you want to call them, they make life easier by combining your first two layers into one. For example, I could have simply taken Absolution Green and gotten the same effect as my first two layers would have done. Because this combines your base and your... So your base paint, your wash, and then your cleanup. That's basically what it does in one go. It doesn't do highlights, it doesn't do edge highlights, no, it's still pretty limited, but you can actually paint an army or a model in relatively no time just by using speed paints or contrast paints. So when I say, hey, you only need like 5 colors to get started, make sure that those colors are actually contrast or speed paints. Because then you don't need a wash, you don't need to do all these layers. You can just paint a miniature and it'll look great. So if you have a, like I said, a Space Marine or something else, and you know which 4 or 5 colors you want to paint them in, take them in contrast and I guarantee that they will look pretty okay. Now with contrast paints there is a difference. So instead of having tiny layers, just dap that all on that model. Just go for it. Oh shit, I completely forgot something. Your models are gonna come in just gray, white, black plastic, but you have to prime them first. Priming you can do by getting primer. Metal, plastic, surface primer. You can get primer from Vallejo, which is also a miniature painting. No, this is varnish. You can get very cheap actual primer for a house. You can get that. That works just as well. You can get specialized primer from Citadel. But you have to make sure that you have used primer before starting to paint. Because if you don't, your normal paints aren't going to stick to the plastic, to the metal, to the resin, to whatever it is your model is made of. You have to buy primer. I know I'm way too late for that, but yeah, you really need that. That's, by the way, this model was this color. And it's completely coated in white primer. That's why, yeah, that's why it looks like this. So now that it starts to dry, I'm gonna continue adding more layers to it to darken it up a little more. Yeah, but with the contrast paints, you can just put a load of paint on there and it will do its job. That's no problem, so don't have to worry about that. With the normal paints you have to like respect the process, let's say it like that. That's also why it takes quite a long time to get like one model done, because you have to wait till most of the layers are dry before you can continue on with the next color, the next paint, the next whatever. So normally if I paint something like this, I do this, wait till it's dry, and in the meantime paint one of these things. So totally do that while waiting. I'm not gonna do that now for the purpose of the stream. Hey Helly, how are you doing? Welcome in. Thank you for joining. Are you also interested in miniature painting? So yeah, maybe while we're waiting for this to dry again, yes, this stream has turned into watching paint dry. Very exciting. Already gonna shake this. One of the things that we're planning on doing is Dark Chasey, who you might have seen here in the chat, is doing some upgrades to his stream. And he's thinking about doing some DIY streaming in the future. And he asked me, hey, if I'd be interested in being a guest on one of those DIY, do-it-yourself, yeah, DIY streams in the future about painting. Because he plays one of the characters in my role-playing game, and he has his own miniature for that character, and he wants to actually paint a miniature himself, which is, hey, I support that entirely. So I'm gonna give him a demonstration and a tutorial on his stream as well in the future. So definitely check that out as well. But for now, I am here trying to get my own stream to do something. So yeah, for those who have joined later, today I got a message from Twitch saying that, hey, you're almost an affiliate, you just need to get a couple more requirements done. One of those requirements was stream 7 different days in 28-day period. I'm on 6 out of 7, so normally I should be there. I should have 7 out of 7 days now, and I might be eligible to become an affiliate, and then more stuff will be unlocked for the channel, and I can provide you guys with more stuff to do, more interactive things, and yeah, of course, Searchonomicon, you can sub me then. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I am really curious to see if I can become affiliate before 2024. That would be a great way to start a new year, and would be something to look forward to, because that opens up new ways to do stuff with the stream. Same for YouTube, because I'm nowhere near to becoming good enough for YouTube, but I do have plans for the YouTube. I was recording audio for more Lovecraft readings when I got a message from Twitch. So I've got a couple of stories coming out. I am thinking about going over the different stories. Hey Dark Chasey, welcome back. At the beginning of the year, I'm going to switch over from Lovecraft to Edgar Allan Poe, and I will be reading the stories that have been touched upon in the Netflix series The Fall of the House of Usher. If you don't know, The Fall of the House of Usher is a series made by Mike Flanagan for Netflix. Mike Flanagan is the director, the creator of The Haunting of Hill House, Midnight Mass, stuff like that. But did it actually fall down? Yes, it did. Yes. The house actually fell down. Have you seen the series? Have you read the book? It's about a house that actually falls down. But anyway, the Fall of the House of Usher is a anthology basically about a family, the Usher family, that meets their ruin. And each story, each episode is based on a different Poe story. So if you have seen the movie, you'll notice that a couple of people die in there, and each of their deaths is directly linked to a specific story by Edgar Allan Poe. And I'm going to go over Edgar Allan Poe's stories in the same order as shown in the series The Fall of the House of Usher. So, if you like the series, if you remember the series, you might get a kick out of knowing where the source material comes from. If you haven't seen the series, I wholeheartedly say do it. I propose do it because it's a really good series. It's perfectly visualized. It has some really good scenes, and it's really chilling at times, very eerie. But you will get a kick out of it knowing that the source material is the work of Edgar Allan Poe. Most of you will only know him from The Raven, which is fine. I mean, most of you will also only know The Raven from the Simpsons Halloween episode, where Homer Simpson encounters the Raven and recites the poem of the Raven. That's fine. You're never too old to learn. That's why we're here. This channel is all about learning. It's an amazing episode. Yes, it is. Now, after your base paint is dry, or dry-ish, I know it's still not completely dry, but fuck it, we're doing it live. You're gonna go and get your wash out. I had it in my hand. Where is it? Here. Again, shake it, put a bit on your palette, and take your thickest brushes. The thickest brush you have, just take it. You put it in there, you soak up as much as you can from that paint, and then you go over the areas that you want to shade. In this case, basically everything. And you'll notice it immediately darkens the areas that you apply it to, which is the effect that we wanted. Because this will highlight where the shadows are, and that's what we need. My brush is a bit rough, so I'm quickly gonna rinse it out and apply it further. Yeah, drop on your back, dumbass. It's like an oily substance. Make sure that you don't get it anywhere because it'll stain horribly. Now you'll see that it has the immediate effect of darkening the cloak, casting shadows. That is what you want. So you just put your model down, let the drying do its job. Yes, again, this is paint drying. And then you wait. These are the slowest steps in my opinion, because these require drying in between. This is a load of paint that you're working with, and that paint needs its time to dry. So if you have your base color and your wash, well, first of all, the base color is a lot of paint in the beginning, and it will take a long time to dry just because of the sheer amount of paint that you need. Plus, it's mostly 1, 2, maybe even 3 layers, depending on how well your paint is sticking on your miniature. And then you have your wash, which is also naturally a very oily, very wet running substance, which makes it really hard to dry properly. So it will take some time. Layers! Yes. After this, it gets easier because then you use relatively minimal amounts of paint to finish your miniature. And it gets easier because, first of all, it dries way quicker because you use less paint, and it doesn't matter if the paint is still a bit wet, because if your paint is still wet and you go over it with a different color, the next color, it will slightly blend and make a better a transition between the two. Because if you would just smear one paint onto the next, you will definitely see that it has like these splotches, these spots on it, and it will just feel like, okay, you have switched one paint with another, and it will look very jarring. But if your previous paint is still a bit wet and you go over it with a new wet paint, it will blend and you'll get this nice gradient transition. Sometimes you go over a spot, you will see when I do the highlighting with this color. You go over it first, it dries a bit, you'll notice that it'll blend with the background, and then a tiny smaller spot on the same place, you just go over it again. And with those two applications, you will have like a larger blended spot and a smaller pure spot of that color, which already makes the transition between colors way more fluid. Of course, there is always a possibility to go for a much starker contrast, but that is wholly on you. I'm just gonna quickly show what it's gonna look like. So if you take this for example, I have like the base color of red used on this model. I did the wash, which makes the deepest parts look very dark. Then I cleaned up with the same red color that I used before, and then on top of that I used a lighter red and even an orange at the edges to get like a transition of where light falls on it. And you can see that even with the light on it, there is like a smooth transition of where light falls on this cloth. Yes, and then it breaks. Awesome. So yeah, that's what I mean with resin breaks easily. If you haven't seen the beginning of the stream, resin breaks really easily if you drop it, and if you're a klutz like me, you drop it quite easily and then it breaks. So yeah, you've seen it live on stream, people. It's okay, I have glue, I can easily fix it, it's no problem. Wouldn't be the first time that happened. So yeah, even for colors like black, this vampire's cloak is black. You use black, you use a shade, but then you still have to layer it with gray. Why? Because even the darkest cloak, if light hits it, it will turn a kind of gray. It's gonna be dark gray, but it's gonna be lighter than its surroundings. So you actually have to go and paint your dark cloaks gray. The same with the white color. If you have a white miniature, white, if you have white cloth and you fold it, in the fold it's gonna be dark gray or even a bluish kind of type. And you still have to take care of that. It's not because a cloth is white that it doesn't cast shadow or it doesn't have like shades of gray going in it. I'm just taking a quick look if I have something here that I can use to show that off. No, I don't think so. Don't have a white thing standing around here. "50 Shades of Grey," yes, indeed. Come on, dry. Dry faster. I am blowing it, I just muted myself to blow it. Yes, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We had a couple of very humid days earlier in this year, and I was painting some of the miniatures, and my paint just didn't dry at all. And I could blow it, but it just kept running, and that's just because there's too much moisture in the air, there's too much humidity, and yeah, then it's kind of impossible to paint. That's why I said like painting and printing miniatures, there's a lot of like meteorological elements to it as well. So you have to know when it is best to paint. So I'm gonna start blowing it again. Yeah, where's your B button? Press B to blow. Yes. Your B button could be your belly button. So press the belly button to blow. I know, man. I'm just going along. Can you guys hear the music all right, by the way? It's not too loud. Vibing. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, like I said, I have some plans for the stream for YouTube. I told you guys about it multiple times already that I'm going to do more lore-focused videos that don't necessarily have anything to do with the minis that I'm painting. I'm going to put those on YouTube. Might even put some of the readings and those lore videos on Spotify or something. Because I've heard that people actually like to hear them while traveling, and having them on YouTube, then you need like YouTube Prime. So I might look into getting into more of a podcast like thing with that. But yeah, those lore deep dives, I am first working out a couple of scripts before I start recording, because I want to make sure that if I do that, that it is in a format that I can maintain, that I know works, that I know that I can keep basically creating for you guys. So it's not like I start doing it and after 3 times, it's, yeah. If you ever need help, suggestions with anything related to social media, schedules and everything, feel free to reach out. Thank you, Helly, that is really kind. The thing is, I have a marketeer in my house, so I will definitely reach out if I have to. If I want to, if the need arises. But I also have like Custard Sire here, Astrid, who does marketing and knows the ins and outs of what I should probably do and I'm not doing with the social medias. Are you planning out a room tour next year? A room tour, like I will show you what's in my room? Or, because there's not a lot in my room at this moment. This is a very small room. Also, it's all tactically placed so that when I show you guys my face on the camera, none of the trash is in the video. So no, right now it's pretty clean. So I don't mind showing you guys around. A tour of the room, yeah, sure, I can definitely give you a tour of the room. I am actually planning, I have like a bookcase. While it dries, I'm just gonna quickly switch back to just chatting. Yeah, So you have my cases here, bookcase back there, my working space. My printers are here. You can't see them. Maybe you can like here, like the little edge. But yeah, the cupboard over there has all my role-playing books in them. It has my Mandalorian helmet on it. Has like a couple of books on there. A couple of the finished models that I made for the stream are there as well. And I'm actually planning. Can we see the helmet? Yeah, you can. It's not my old helmet. It's actually going to be the new helmet for my new kit. So this is the helmet that I'm going to paint and wear as my new on my new Mandalorian outfit. So big helm for big boy. Am I going to paint the helmet on stream? I don't know, because the way my camera is set up, it's going to be really hard to put that helmet underneath there. So I will need another kind of setup to actually paint a helmet like that. But like I was saying, like when I do the lore videos, I think I'm going to use that cupboard as my background. I'm gonna try and figure something out where I sit in front of that cupboard on my ass, talking lore, and then just shifting to images of the lore. That's what's playing in my head right now. What's in the bookcase? Which one? The one over there or the one over here? Like not so miniature. Over there. Not over here, but over there. Okay, I'm just gonna say, like, over there is all my literature. So it's basically all my actual storybooks. It's the Wheel of Time, Warhammer books. So the Wheel of Time, Warhammer books. It's Lord of the Rings books. It's Warcraft books, Star Wars, Call of H.P. Lovecraft. It's basically all of my books that are actually just for reading. Underneath there is also my pile of shame, which is basically all the plastic miniatures that I have and haven't put together or painted yet. So, no. Can you go grab one of your top 5 favorite books easily? H.P. Lovecraft's Complete Fiction. That is my favorite book. That is part of your pile of shame, not the whole thing. Thanks, Custard Sire. Thanks for pointing that out. This is easily my most favorite book because, yeah, it has all the stories of H.P. Lovecraft in them. I knew of Lovecraft. I had come into contact with Call of Cthulhu, with all manner of things, with the mythos basically before, but it's only after I started reading this book that I got the full scope of what H.P. Lovecraft was about, and I became really devoted to it. Well, devoted is like a bad word, but yeah, this is basically what got me into Lovecraft completely and wholly. So there we go. That is one of my favorite books because it has everything. And it's like a Bible. It's basically like your Necronomicon, Dark Chasey. It's exactly the same, it just looks differently paced and stuff like that. I'm quickly gonna go over here. Is this dry yet? Give it a couple minutes. Okay, what else can you let me do? Whatever you want. I'm here. I'm having fun. So I hope you guys are having fun. I'm just gonna quickly put this back. Do you see board games on top? Yes, you do. Here on top I have... So, here. This is a Gundam set that I bought in Avignon when I went there earlier. I was actually planning on doing the Gundam first before switching over to the tutorial that I'm doing now. I can do it at a later point. And then you have whatever. Here it's Trial by Trolley by Cyanide and Happiness. It's basically you have the trolley conundrum. Like you have one track where a trolley is going to with a bunch of people on them. And then there's one track with someone that you know. Would you switch the track, yes or no? It's basically a game where you have to put people on tracks and convince a third player. So you and your opponent have to convince a third player which of the tracks to actually run over. It's a really fun game. You would love to see the box of the Gundam? Sure. Something about it always tickled my pickle. Gundam? So I have no clue what this Gundam is. Something about it also tickles me, like it's giant robots. I like giant robots. I mean, giant robots are cool, but I never got into Gundam either. Like I've seen it a couple times on TV. I know like the main character. I can recognize like the main Gundam robot, but who is this? What does he do? In which series does he belong? I have no clue. Like, but it looks like a fun kit to build. It's something completely different than what I'm used to. I'm just gonna pop this open. Like, there's like an instruction manual there, and then you have like these blisters with all the different parts that you have to cut out and then snap together. So then you have like stickers as well. I think last stream Milky Shame was here, and he told me, or he told us that he did Gunpla as well, which is, you know, Gundam building. But that he's now venturing into painting, because there's no painting involved here, it's just building, which is fine basically, but you work with stickers, so that's something different. But I have no clue about the lore of Gundam, so if I'm ever gonna build this thing, I first have to do some research before I can tell you about it. See some amazing art with Gundam. Yes, same. I have seen amazing art, literal art, and then I have seen some amazing projects made with like the Gunpla models that you see here, like stop motion and stuff like that, which is insane. Stop motion, something that I really like, really interested in it. I do not have the patience or planning to actually get that going, so yeah. Anyway, I think our model is dry, so let's switch over to painting and continue with our lesson. So, like I said earlier, after you're done with your base and your wash, you simply apply your base color again, but this time to the areas that are highest up on the model, just to get that color there as much as possible. Leaving the deepest recesses that have been colored by the wash alone. For example, here you see that there is multiple dark spots there. You're just gonna leave that alone and gonna paint around it. So now you have to start being kind of tactical with how you apply your paint, because now you can actually paint over stuff that you have already painted. So I am still using the biggest brush. Sometimes people, for the cleanup, already want to go to their smaller brushes. but that is basically up to you. And now you might be thinking, oh no, now that he's applied more paint, we're gonna have to wait it out again. Well, no, because like I said earlier, because we're gonna be blending now anyway, it doesn't really matter how much of the previous layer is still visible to us. We can just go over this and it'll help blending, in fact. So, cleaning out your brush, you go to your next color, your lighter color. Again, shake your paint, put some on your palette, it's not shaken well enough, so I'm gonna shake it some more because there's some fluid in there. Yes, this looks better. Get some water in there so you have like a thin coat. Again, the thinner the coat, the more you have like the other effect of the paint underneath it shining through. And then you just go over every place that you want to have more light reaching it. Sometimes that's quite easy because the previous layer will have, or the wash will have shown you where those areas are. Because they will have less of the wash in there as well. I thought I heard knocking. So the upper ridges of this cloak will definitely catch more light. And here on top of the shoulders, they will also catch more light. So we'll definitely take those. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. Yes, indeed, the raven. 'Tis a visitor and nothing more. So like I said earlier, I first did a paint and now I'm gonna go over some of the places in slightly smaller area where I want this lighter color to really be visible. So to have like more of a transition effect. And that's basically what you do. You layer, because that's this face, you layer small layers of paint on top of each other to actually get the difference in color going. And in the beginning it's gonna look very subtle, but after a while you'll start to notice that it actually starts adding up. You'll have enough layers. The blending will favor the lighter color more and more the more you get into it. And the contrast with the darker areas will become greater. And because I only use very small amounts of paint, these layers have dried already by the time I go back to them to add a little bit more of the paint. Again, adding and adding and adding to this layer. And there I throw my model again. Don't you guys have that sometimes, that you have like these spasms in your muscles when you really don't want to throw with something, but you're like, nope, yeet. No? Just me? Okay. Yeet! Isn't it easier if you buy one of those holdy things? You mean one of these things that I have here and not use because I'm a dumbass? Sure. Let me just... Yeah, my brush in my mouth, that's why I sound like this now. There we go. Like when you tattooed me? Yes, indeed. Like those small muscle spasms that you're like, oh shit. I shouldn't be spasming now because someone is putting a needle on my skin. I had a feeling you don't see it as well as I do, actually. Whatever. Now that you've done your highlighting, your layering, basically, you go and apply your highlights, which are, like I said, very small dots that you put on there just to show where the final pinch of light actually falls on top of your model. For that, I'm going to use a tiny brush just because you see it's my 00. I'm going to use that because this has to be very delicately put. It's also called the edge highlighting because you mostly put it on an edge. So for example, you have the edge here on the top of the cloak. You just apply it there. You apply it to the rim of the cloak where light will fall as well. If you want, you can actually go down like a little line as well. If there's like many folds and you really want to put in contrast a fold of cloth next to a shadow of the cloth. So, there you go. I know it's not completely clear on the screen, but now you'll notice that there is way more highlight, way more color going on here in the edges. And then you can just basically go and add some more detail if you want. If you have areas that you're not content of, you can clean them up some more and make the entire thing. I can sort of see, I think. Yeah, I will definitely put like a picture in the Discord. So if you want, you can go down to the Discord to actually see the picture. We've already established that you can link to my Discord. So if you go to the Discord, you can definitely see this cloak up close. I will post like a picture there. I think it's kind of weird that it doesn't quite show how it's supposed to look on the stream cam, because like if I look at the preview, it definitely looks completely different than how it should look in real life. But yeah, you'll definitely see here, this area is way lighter than here because here there's a shade. This is partly because there is actual shade, but shade works different on smaller models than it does on actual large things. So you have to emulate light and shade much more with your paints than you do with larger things. But yeah, that is basically the principle behind shading cloth like that, doing stuff with cloth like this. If you have, I'm gonna see if I have other stuff lying around. Skin with this dinosaur where it's also layered, or it's various spikes here. The cloth here as well. Come on, focus. The thing is with painting miniatures, the moment that you start to look too closely, it's all gonna look bad. Because it's all gonna look like it's just smeared on there and not looking that fantastic. So, guys, that was a very short introduction to painting. So, to recap, if you want to paint your own miniatures, you need a couple things. First of all, make sure that you have the space to actually paint. And in addition to space, light. Natural light works best. I have like this huge window over here. Drops in light, all I need. I still have this ring light going just to make everything work perfectly. So, space to work and light. Then what you need is your miniature that you want to paint. You can get those in hobby stores, or you can 3D print them via a friend, via services that print them. Or like I said, you can just buy a miniature in your hobby store. They go for relative low prices to exorbitant prices, depending on what producer you're buying them from. If it's Games Workshop, they tend to be a bit more pricey, but the quality is pristine. Or you can go with the Wizards of the Coast Dungeons and Dragons miniatures, who are still pretty good in quality, but noticeably less than those of Games Workshop. But for a character, for a model, for an NPC that you want to put in your D&D campaign, they work just as fine. So once you have your miniature, you just look at all the kinds of paints that you want to use. If you want to go with quick and easy, buy contrast paints. Just buy a contrast red paint, a contrast blue paint, a contrast yellow paint, depending on what colors you really want to use in your model. Just buy contrast. It's going to make your life very easy. It will give a satisfying effect, and it will give you like a feel for how your paints act, work on a model. You will get the hang of using a brush. You will get the hang of sitting on a table looking at your miniature for a long time. So it's a really good way of getting into it and still getting pretty okay results. If you then want to switch over to actually painting your miniature with the different layer methods, you will need more than just a brush and contrast paints. You will need 3 brushes. A standard brush, the one you can also use for your contrast paints, a big brush for your washes, and a small brush for your details, highlights. You're gonna need those, definitely. And then you will need, of course, the colors that you want. One color that you want the item to have, a slightly lighter color and a much lighter color. Don't fret, most of the light colors come down to broken white. So if for your final highlight you only use like a very light gray, that'll work out fine, trust me. So you don't have to buy a very light green and a very light yellow and a very light blue. Most of the time a light gray works perfect for all your edge highlighting needs, because those layers are so thin that they will leave some room for the paint underneath it to shine through. So if the color beneath it is green, your edge highlight will look green as well. If it's blue, it will look blue. If it's yellow, it will look yellow. So don't worry too much about that. Just make sure that your base color and the color you're going to put on that are in order. Then you're going to need a wash. Very simple. If you want to go to Army Painter, they have called Strong Tone. You can easily use that. If you go to Games Workshop, they have Nuln Oil or Agrax Earthshade, depending if you want black or brownish color for your wash, for your shade. Some colors work better with black, some colors work better with brown. It's basically a free world. You can choose that on your own. And a primer. Again, I got mine from a very cheap store. It's basically normal primer. This can cost like €5. I can spray paint a whole buttload of models with this. So what you're going to do is you're going to spray paint your models with a primer. Action primer, yes. You're going to spray paint your models with the primer and make sure that all the plastic bits or resin or whatever your model is made out of are covered in the spray paint that you have. You want to pick white, you want to pick black, you want to pick gray, you want to pick green. Doesn't matter what color your spray paint is. Just make certain that everything is covered. The thing is, if you have white, you have more light shining through the rest of your paints. If you take black, most of your shadows are going to be deeper because, well, yeah, the base paint is already black. Then you're going to put your base paint on the different places in your model. Remember, always work from the most difficult to reach areas to the most easy to reach areas on your model. Work inward to outward. First, covered skin, faces under hoods, under elbows, between legs. Those places need to be painted first, because afterwards you're not going to be able to reach them without scuffing paint on your already painted other regions on your miniature. So, base paint is there, then you just wash it down with either your Nuln Oil, Agrax Earthshade, or your Strong Tone, depending on which wash or shade that you have. Just wash it down, make sure that it pools in the recesses where you want your shadows to be on your model. If it doesn't work like that, use your brush to take away some of the shade from where it shouldn't be while it's drying. Once that's dry, you're going to clean up with your original base paint again to make sure that it looks pretty on all the places that it has to look pretty and have that color again. And then with the lighter color, you're gonna put light layers on top of the places that need some more light. Again, every object is 3D. Every object, if you have like a sphere, I don't have a sphere, but if you have a sphere, you'll notice there's a gradation of how much light it will catch on every side. And that's what you want to emulate. You have like 4 areas. You have the deepest recesses. That's what you did with your shade. Then you have most of it, which is your base color, but then when you get to the top of it, you will have what you will highlight. And that is what you have to emulate. You look at your miniature and you try to imagine like a fictitious light shining down on it. Why do I say fictitious? Because light works different on miniatures than it does on real life. You will notice that if you hold it under a lamp to paint it, everything will be lit. So you can't count on the shadows there. You have to imagine a light hitting it from a certain spot, what is in a shadow, what is highlighted. And then you're going to paint those with your layer paint. And then, finally, you're going to take a small brush and just slightly go over the edges of the most well-lit areas to create that final highlight that makes it really pop and stand out, where you know that light will hit it and reflect straight into your eyes, making it almost bright. And then you will have like a nice shading, a nice cloak or piece of cloth or piece of armor that is painted. Yeah. And just continue doing that and your model will be ready. Now, whether you paint a model in 15 minutes or you paint a model in 15 hours, well, 15 hours is a bit much, but yeah, no, you can paint a model in 15 hours. You can definitely do that. It doesn't really matter. What matters is, are you happy with the result? Also remember, it's only paint. If you don't like what you've done, just paint over it again. So when do we see a 24-hour painting stream? The moment that I have multiple days off, because otherwise my eyes are gonna hurt like shit. Yeah. It's only paint. Paint over it if you don't like it. Redo an area if you don't like it. You have a bottle of paint, you can simply go over it again. If you don't like an entire model you've done, just put a little, depending on the material it's made of, but most of the time lukewarm to warm water, not hot water, but lukewarm water with a bit of dish soap in it. Just put your model in there for 24 hours and normally you can just rub off the paint after that. It will completely dissolve, it will fall off, and your paint and your model is as good as new. You can start over again completely. So if you have questions, if you have remarks, if you want to have tips on how I paint something, if you want to go online and learn more about painting, definitely do that. Miniature painting is an amazing experience. It's awesome to do. You can have a lot of fun with it. You can find your own style. You can find your own way in how you paint miniatures. I started out painting via the Games Workshop method very early, and I have been doing that for a very long time, and it's only after that that contrast paints came out. Now I use contrast paints for certain areas, and then I add what I've learned from the traditional layering method to a contrast paint. That's something you can do. There's people who paint using the metallic metals. So there's also metallic metals, metallic paints. Metallic metals. There's metallic paints. This is true copper, for example. You will notice that if I use this, there is like a little bit of glitter in there that makes it look metallic and shiny. There's people who paint metallics using metallic paint. There's also people who layer paints to have a non-metallic metallic effect. You can do that. I have painted a dwarf with a non-metallic metallic effect. I will get that. Okay, I'm not gonna get it because I don't know where it is. Yeah, I can't really find it, but it's on my Instagram, so if you want to see it, you can definitely see it there. Um, it has a different effect. Different models will call for different ways of painting. Like I have painted big models, like for example the Diablo, the Cthulhu, that what are you looking for? My dwarf that I painted. I think it's gonna be somewhere in like a blister waiting to get used. Oh no, 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 I see it. It's okay. There it is. So you see like his shoulder pad. It looks like it has a shine to it. The same with the shield. It looks like it's lit from above. It isn't. It's all like an optical illusion. Same with the helmet. The helmet looks like it's painted with metal, with metallic paint. It isn't. It's all just an optical illusion. This is non-metallic metal. It took me a while to paint this. I'm really glad I did because it taught me a lot about metals and how light works on objects, 3D objects. But it takes a while to actually get right. I have some other ones here. So another one that is painted with some metallic metal. You'll notice that to the back where there is no light, it's way darker than it is coming from the front. This one also has like gold on his crotch. In comparison, this here and this one here, this is painted with metallic metal. So you notice like, yeah, it shines, it reflects lights on its own. That's because that glitter, that metallic particle is in there. It's different, but it's still fun. So you can also clearly see like here, the edge highlight on the other green that I've done. Yeah. So, guys, I hope you learned something today, that you are interested in starting painting yourself. If you do, let me know. If you want, again, if you want more tips, if you want more tutorials, if you want more advice on what to buy, where to look, what to paint first, let me know and I'll get back to you. Again, you can join the Discord or send me messages on... Apparently I'm also not... Apparently I can't link the Discord either, so... Discord link broken. Yeah, okay. There you go, you have to link it twice. Which is weird. Also, you can follow me on Instagram and ask me questions there. So I'm always up for helping out people if you want to get into the hobby. I really love the hobby. I know it can be quite daunting to get into it, but I have fun with it, and I hope you guys, if you want to find out what it's about, then you have fun with it as well. Now, I want to thank everyone who has joined me. And you're back. This is the end, I guess. Yes, it is. I just did my recap, and I am closing down for tonight, or for today. Guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for everyone who is here currently following along, and even for those who aren't here but got me to this point. I'm curious to see if I am now completely eligible to be an affiliate. If so, then we have something to celebrate as we go into the new year. And I will definitely make sure that we can all celebrate in the stream and even do some special things for the stream. But until we're certain about that, MTV, that's clever. MTV. Okay, I like that. Thank you for following. Thank you for following. I hope you like what you see. Too bad I'm finishing up already. But thank you for the follow nonetheless. But next week's Thursday, so on our normal streaming day, I will be online again and I will do a kind of retrospective of 2023. I started streaming back in in April, after I got like this set up for my birthday. I started this journey. I want to go back and see how I did things then, what I've painted in the meantime, and what I'm planning to do for the next year. If you can join me, I'd love to. It's gonna be a mostly chill stream of talking. Most of the streams is just me talking, which, you know, that's what a stream is. But I hope to see you there, and in the meantime, I wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Joyeuse Hanukkah, whatever it is that you're celebrating, how you're feeling, what you hold dear in your heart. I hope you can spend time with your loved ones and have a very good end of the year. And if it's not next week, then I already wish you a happy new year, and I hope to see you next year. Guys, again, thank you for everything that you've done, for supporting me, and I hope to see you again soon. This is Christophe signing off. Bye.